Bam! Welcome everyone to Plate Time. My name is Eric Wadlin. I'm the executive chef and partner at Wildest Restaurant Bar and Grill in Palm Desert, California. Today we're doing another plant-based dish. It's going to be a great kind of a northern Italian style dish. A wild mushroom ragu with white polenta and pistachio spinach pesto. So wow, it sounds like a lot to talk about, a lot to do. So we're going to really make 3 different recipes today, put them all together. Some things you're going to need to do this dish. Obviously you need a little burner. You're going to need a food processor of some type, or a little, you can even use a little bullet if you want, but this works out really well, what I have. Some white polenta. So polenta, what is polenta? People ask, polenta actually is a dish. What we're going to use is a finished dish. It's called polenta, like lasagna. Lasagna is a finished dish. Polenta is a finished dish. So what this is white cornmeal. But when you buy it, it will say white polenta on it. So you can, find it at the grocery store, buy it on Amazon, however you want. My wife is always laughing because she says, "Where do you get this stuff?" I said, "You can buy it anywhere, but it's not really anywhere." So first we're going to start out. We're going to make the white polenta. Turn our burner on here. I'm going to teach you a little secret too at the same time. We need 3/4 of a cup of white polenta and 3 cups of vegetable stock. So I make my own vegetable stock. If you don't have the time to make the vegetable stock, you can always buy it and use that. Works out just as well. Some nice homemade. If you saw me on Instagram yesterday, I had a nice picture of the vegetable stock being made. But here's the trick. A lot of people mess up and they make the polenta, they'll try to bring the water to a boil, add the polenta, whip it and everything, and then it gets lumpy. So if you start out with it cold, and the salt, don't forget the salt, and you whip it really good, now it's all incorporated. So you won't have any lumps in your polenta. It'll be beautiful and lump-free. So that's just a little trick. We got this up to just at boiling, 212 degrees. Bring it up to a boil, and then once it gets up to a boil, we'll let it simmer. It's quick cooking polenta, takes about 15-20 minutes, So with the food processor, we're gonna make next is the pistachio and spinach pesto. Okay, so what it takes is 3 cups of spinach, pistachios, garlic, salt, lemon, and a little bit of plant-based mozzarella cheese. I like doing a pesto, so this doesn't quite all fit in my food processor, so I'll start out with just a little bit more than half of it, of the spinach. You don't want to smash it down too much. Once I add it all in, it'll all blend up anyhow. You see, I got my recipe here. Everybody needs to have a recipe. Can't cook without a recipe, but the recipe, remember, is just a guideline. You gotta cook with your soul there. 1/4 of a cup of pistachios. As you can tell, they're kind of nice and chopped there. Those go in. I'm going to turn this down. You can see it's boiling now, starting to come out. Give it a whip. You're going to have to stir this occasionally. Every once in a while, just give it a whip. I'm going to turn this down to just a simmer. That's looking good. So now we got the pistachios in there. We're going to add 1 or 2 garlic cloves. You just want to give these like a little rough chop. Again, they're going to be blended, so you don't need to chop them all the way. But just a little. That should be good. Got the garlic, got the pistachios. Next we're going to add the olive oil. Again, it's 1/4 of a cup of olive oil, if I remember right. Yeah. This is cooking nice. We'll add our 1/4 cup of olive oil. Now this is something I like to do when I make pesto, is I like to put fresh lemon zest in it. This is one of the best zesters I've ever owned. I bought it many years ago, and the funniest thing about it is it's Tupperware. But it is the best zester. You're going to see why I say that in just a second. You see how the nice zest that this makes? So we're going to put the zest of 1 lemon in, and the juice of about half of it. You can even hear that, and boy, I wish you could again smell it. The lemon, nice fresh acid of this lemon just smells great. Give this a little whip as we're cruising along here. All right, we got our nice lemon zest. Put our zest in our pesto. Again, I see we got some new people joining in. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. My name's Eric. I'm the chef at Wildest Bar and Grill. Today we're making a little wild mushroom ragu with a spinach and pistachio pesto and a little white polenta. We're right now making the little pesto. So we have the spinach in there, the pine nuts, the lemon. We're gonna need a little lemon juice, so we cut it in half. We got our lemon squeezer. I think probably a lot of people have a nice lemon squeezer good at home. If you don't buy one of these, it's great when you're making margaritas. Not that I make margaritas, but if you did, you would love it. Then we put some salt in there, 1/4 teaspoon, and then we're going to blend it. We're going to blend it about halfway. And then we're going to add maybe a little bit more oil on this one. I got my Happy Time spatula, so I'm happy that he's back. Oh, that's looking good though. Add the rest of the spinach. Just a little more olive oil, not much, but just a little. Oh, I got that going. Oh, look at that, there you go. You don't want it too runny or too loose. The more it blends, the looser it's going to get. Now we're going to scrape down the sides there. Give our polenta a stir. Oh, that's looking really good. Cook it on just nice. I'm going to give this a little wipe down here. Looking good. That's looking really good. Smells good, looks good. Now the last thing we're going to add, 1 tablespoon of mozzarella cheese, a little plant-based mozzarella. So you can do plant-based Parmesan if you'd like. Obviously with all these recipes I do, if you want to make it non-plant-based, just use regular Parmesan cheese or regular mozzarella cheese. You don't have to use the plant-based, I just like using it for these plant-based dishes. All right, that is done. And we're going to set it aside. Very nice pesto there. I'm just going to put this on the stove behind me here just for a minute to let it kind of keep cooking, because we're going to make the wild mushroom ragu right here so you can see what we're doing on that. Okay? Not going far away. Yeah, so I just kind of have it on a medium low heat. Just kind of let it cook real slow. Add our pan here. Turn this up pretty hot. You know, we want to kind of sear these mushrooms in the beginning. So the first thing we need for our dish is going to be mushrooms. So you want to buy nice Portabella mushrooms like this, nice and meaty mushroom. But what you want to do is you want to cut the gills out of the inside of it. If you can see right inside here, you got these black gills. You don't want this in there because that'll turn your sauce black and not give it a good color. So you can see these I've already trimmed them out of. So I'm just going to trim them out of this one. I'll show you how. It's not very complicated. You just want to get a spoon with a nice little tip on it here and just kind of scrub it real nice and lightly. You don't have to be very forceful or anything. So this pan is getting hot while I'm doing this, so it's going to work out just right. A lot of times as I'm doing recipes, or when I am doing a recipe, I always like to give you all the measurements. Most of the times I like to give the measurements in cups, in tablespoons and teaspoons. That way, you know, it's always the same. A tablespoon's a tablespoon, not a lot to mess up. But this would be kind of hard to do in cup form because the way you chop it and dice it. So what I did is I weighed it ahead of time. I got a nice little scale right here. Just weighed it 10 ounces ahead of time. That way I know I have 10 ounces of mushrooms. So that's in the recipe, it'll say 10 ounces. You can just pre-weigh it. We're going to take our mushrooms now. And you want this as a ragu, a ragu is spelled this way as R-A-G-U, and then there's a ragu, which is French, which is R-A-G-O-U-T. And a ragu, which is French, is a braised and liquid and cooked for a long time, and it's in southern France, and that's a ragu with a T. This is a ragu, R-A-G-U, like the sauce. That's a northern Italian dish made out of meat and tomato. It usually goes over top of pasta. In this case, we're going to put it over polenta. So that's a little ragu lesson there for you. So we're going to make the northern Italian Ragu recipe, R-A-G-U. We're going to cut these in a nice pie shape. So first you cut them in half, and then give them nice slices. Again, so this is in place of meat, so I want nice, big pieces, right? Don't try to get it too small, too dainty. It won't work out as well. This is hot. You want a lot of oil. You want about 1/4 cup. That's what the recipe calls for. You know, mushrooms love oil. You can tell I use a good oil because I want to have a good flavor with it. I'm going to chop those and finish chopping these. Pie shape, nice and meaty. I did clean the stem earlier, and I cleaned the mushrooms earlier before I came on. I just showed you how to gill them there. I'm going to turn around here real quick. I'm going to check, make sure my polenta is still doing well, but I'm sure it is. It's going to be perfect. Mushrooms are cooking. You can tell how I don't, you see a lot of people, they pick up the pan, they flip it, and they flip it, and they flip it. Well, you can't cook in the air because there's no gas there. So I try to keep things on the stove and on the burner as much as possible. All right. To this, we're going to add some garlic. About 2 cloves of garlic. I'm going to just give it a nice slice. You want it thin, but not too thin. You're not trying to do the old razor blade trick and try to get it so thin that you can see through it. But a nice, thin cut is good. It's going to cook into the sauce no matter what. All right, got those cooking. Oh, that looks good. Got the garlic in there. Flip my recipe. Look at my recipe here. When I was first learning how to cook, I used to flip dried pinto beans to learn how to flip and saute really well. So now we got our mushrooms cooking here. They're looking really good. Now we have to season the mushrooms. I always like to season them at this point. A little salt, a little red chili flake, okay, and a little pepper, okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the tomato paste. So this is not tomato paste, I'm sorry. Tomato puree. I don't want a paste, I don't want it that thick, I just want a puree of it. We're going to add the tomato puree to it. My little recipe says 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, so we're going to add 1, 2, 3 to that. And we're going to let that cook. Alright, so we're going to let this tomato cook, and if you cook the tomato and saute it with the mushrooms, it will saute that kind of that raw tomato flavor out of what you're cooking, so it won't taste quite as, it has that raw flavor. I can always taste tomato puree or tomato paste unless it's cooked out. Then we add these beautiful, they were on the vine cherry tomatoes to it, and it's going to be really good. You can see that's cooking nice. Again, half. Oh, this is coming together nice. Okay, maybe one more. Looks good. Smells good, huh? That smells good, doesn't it? Let me add one more. But you see as the tomatoes cook in there how it looks. Okay. Oh, this is great. I want that to cook just a little bit more. And at the meantime, we're going to get our herbs ready. We're going to put 2 different herbs in this. We're going to put a little fresh rosemary and a little fresh thyme inside. So the best way to do rosemary is hold it from the top and peel down this way. That way you get all the leaves. All right? If you pull it this way, you end up with too much of the stem. As you can tell, I turned this up a little bit because I'm going to deglaze it with a little bit of the white wine. We're going to deglaze this with the white wine first. So a little white wine. The question was, what kind of wine is this? This is a Spanish wine. In this case, it can be any white wine, but you want one like this that's a dry wine, not sweet, and with a good amount of acid. Okay, that's looking really good. I add the wine first because I want to cook out the alcohol, trying to cook out the rawness of the wine. So we're building the flavors, and you have the wine flavor, but you don't have the, you know, the rawness of tasting wine. And then we're gonna add our vegetable stock to that. Okay, bring that up to one little quick boil, and then we're gonna finish this dish off. I used to have a chef that loved using fresh thyme. Well, as you can tell, it's kind of a little pain to clean. So every day we have to clean and clean and clean thyme, which just took forever. Because you can see, you're not gonna end up with very much. This is looking good, if you can see that. It's a little watery right now, so we're gonna reduce that down. It's gonna kind of make its own sauce. I think at this time, I'm gonna add the nutritional yeast too. So nutritional yeast gives it that cheesy flavor too, that round flavor, the creamy flavor to a dish. So we'll add a little nutritional yeast. It also helps to thicken it a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. I just like the flavor it gives it. All right. Okay, we got our herbs here. We bring those together because they're not going to fight. They're friends. You know, the herbs are okay with each other. So we got our herbs here. I'm just going to gather them together and give them just a little quick once-over chop. Okay. You don't want them too fine, then they just go away. But you do want them, you know, small enough. What's going on there? That is looking really good. We're going to turn that down. You can tell now it's got some little thickness to it, a little viscosity to it. All right, I think we're ready to plate it. We're going to kind of finish this in the, you know, the traditional French way, which is finished with butter. So I got a nice little plant-based butter here. So I'm just going to put a couple little pieces, one tablespoon about of butter in there. Okay. Good. Give it a little richness. Got our spoon. As you can tell, I'm mixing and stirring at the same time. That way the butter gets well incorporated. There you go, that looks good. I'm gonna do one little taste. Oh, that's good. All right, now we're gonna plate it so we can enjoy it. There's our little garlic. So we're gonna add a little bit of the mozzarella to this too. And we're gonna add a little of the plant-based butter to this, just to give it a nice richness to it. If it's a little thick, you know, add a little more vegetable stock to it, a little white wine. I kind of think this looks good. I like it a little thicker than a little thinner. Let's just put it that way. Have our spoon, when you plate an entree or plate a dish or ladle out sauces, whatever, you want to hold the spoon like you're holding a pencil, like you're getting ready to write your name across the dish, because that way you have more control. If you have it like this or in your hand a different way, you're just flopping it. But if you hold it like you're going to write on the plate, you'll have more control and it'll feel more natural to you. So we're just going to put that right there in the middle. My little mess I made there. Then we're going to take, again, hold your spoon like a pencil. Got your sauce. Your wild mushroom ragu is going to just go right on top. A little bit of sauce around. All right, and then we finish. I have a different spoon, a little bit smaller spoon, but you can tell all the spoons that I try to use are tapered. You know, they're not round at the bottom, so there always comes to a point. It's just easier to use it that way. So we're going to put a little pesto around, a little bit on top. And then from yesterday when I made the vegetable stock, I always save the celery leaves because I love celery leaves. I think they look really cool. They're an easy garnish. You always have celery. I always chop up celery to make mirepoix. So I just save the leaves. And we're just going to put some celery leaves around the outside, around the dish. Now this is optional. You don't have to obviously add these. And then what I always do, turn that guy off, I'll just put a little pepper and a little special oil around. There you go, a little wild mushroom ragu served on white polenta with a spinach and pistachio pesto. This is going to be a great dinner. It's not a heavy dinner, it's kind of a lighter style dinner. It's great for summer. You're not going to get really filled up, you know, everything bloated after you eat this, but you'll be full. You know, feel like a real good meal.